Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow and other third parties. If you wish to not be recorded and distributed, please go to the LinkedIn live video feed, the link to which I've just placed in the chat room. This show thrives on participant contributions, and all participants are encouraged to actively participate by asking questions and making comments. To do so, please write in the chat room or turn on your microphone and say hi. We'll be delighted to include your perspective in the conversation. Tonight, our featured guests are Gilda Lyons and Roger Zahab, whose new Albany Records album, Magic and Desire, will be the subject of tonight's conversation. Welcome, Gilda.
Thanks so much, Simeon. I'm glad to be here.
Gilda, so tell us the story of how you met Roger Zahab.
How did I meet Roger Zahab? I mean, I think it was at the dawn of time for me. I met Roger in 1999 at the University of Pittsburgh, and I had just moved from New York City, and I think we met at a welcome picnic or something like that. But the first real that I don't remember, but I do remember what I think was our first exchange, which was Roger had asked to hear some of my music, and I sent it to him, and then he actually listened to it, which is amazing in and of itself. And he listened, and he listened really deeply. And I was walking through the hallway in the music building of the University of Pittsburgh, and Roger was walking toward me, and he had this smirk on his face. And one of the pieces that I had sent him was a piece of mine called What You Want, Substance Free, which starts sounding very light, but it gets very dark. And Roger walked up to me and he said, "You have a very twisted mind." And and we've been friends ever since.
What a compliment. Well, okay, let's listen to the next track. This is Autumn from Autumn Songs, When I Heard the Learned Astronomer.
When I heard the learned astronomer unaccountable. I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself. In the mystical moist night air, and from time to time, looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Roger, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I understand artists have their own way of communicating their own thoughts. So how do you get from then meeting Gilda in the hallway to creating an album called Desire? Is it Magic and
Matt.
Desire?
Well, it takes one being to recognize another, a kindred spirit. And interesting, even the very text and the story behind this Whitman poem, it shows that dual nature of existence, that there is an appearance and there's a calculation underneath, how things are put together on a molecular level. And there's that vast area in between those two. They're sort of like a shell that contain unpredictable interactions between the elements. And Gilda and I, aside from the fact that we are born in the same part of the month of January and are both deeply committed performers, composers, musicians, we make sounds any way we can. I feel an alchemy with her work, which is so distinctively different from mine and yet is completely legible and understandable to me. It makes me resonate in a way that many other composers don't. So it seemed so ideal to combine our work and have them in conversation with each other.
And so tell us a little bit about what we heard at the beginning. So Gilda's work and how that's different from yours. So the Magic and Desire, that's really the two different parts, the two different art styles and streams coming together.
So it's interesting that the authors of the texts those texts were probably written within 10 or 20 years of each other, and it was the end of the 19th century. And I find the Charms and Blessings in general to be an extraordinary, it's sort of like precision spell casting, both in the words and the way that they unfold and her setting of them. The viola is the long-term unwinding of the spell, and the words are the direction to cause the spell to occur, in much the way that a magician never reveals their secrets of their tricks, and the tricks are truly spellbinding on the audience. That work is an example of that, a manifestation of that. And when I heard The Learned Astronomer is Whitman, who was all about immediate expression and reaction to his surroundings, pointing out that he understood that behind that majesty there were incredible calculations and explanations thereof that could be given that would describe exactly what he was feeling in his bones and heart as a free agent walking in the universe. So it seems like an ideal pairing, and it seemed to track throughout our selection of works.
Okay, and we're about to listen to Bone Needles. What should we listen for, Gilda?
Oh, well, you're going to be listening perhaps to for energy communicated through voices that are not using words, which is actually a very common thing for me, maybe less so in the broader conversation about what we hear when we hear vocal works. We usually are listening to text, but I do quite a lot without words writing for voices. And the first section is the evocation, it's the summoning and the bringing, the calling together of human bodies that these two voices working in very close harmonies are doing.
Let's have a listen. Here it is. This is Bone Needles. Roger, so tell us first, what do you look for in a musician when to perform this album? How did you choose the musicians? I understand. So you and Gilda are both performing. We saw you played viola even on the album, and then you have one or two pianists. I think one of the pianists is here. And so what do you look for in a musician? Do they have to have that ability to do those abstract emotions of that Gilda's talking about to communicate in that very primal way, or what's important?
I will say that for me, an ideal musician, and this is obviously composer and performer, both speaking, is that I look for someone who can both intuit what I have scribed on the page and what I've done in my style, but also has a very distinctive, independent understanding of that, because it is always a dialogue. I would never, for instance, you would never want, or I would never want someone who expects to play it exactly the same way every time, as if there were only one possible correct version. That we're tethered to the time we live in, the evening or day of the performance, the rehearsals that we've had, the relationship with our collaborators is all a series of threads that pull and flex in the performance of the work. I'm very fortunate in having my life partner, Rob Frankenberry, who is singing a voice that I've known well since 1993 and has changed and developed. He's also my first listener whenever I create something new. And then the pianist, Benjamin Binder, who is has so many qualities that are different from mine. One of deep understanding of musicology and culture, and can detect those very faint ghosts of Robert Schumann that permeate my work. It's as if Bob and I were twins, which is an uncomfortable thing to say for anyone. But with these two musicians, and then of course with Gilda singing my work, which I've always felt fortunate in having. She created the role of my opera Uncovered by Night, the role of the actress and of another character. And she embodies all of those complex human qualities, both in her singing and even in her acting. And so it seemed like an ideal combination of people. And you can see that if I put it out on a call, a cattle call, it would be impossible for someone to say, yeah, I think I can do all of that, right? It's the relationships we already have that draw us and keep drawing us to these people.
Gilda, what you look for in a musician? So Roger was just saying somebody needs to who can recall or connect the Roger Schumann to his music. When I heard Bone Needles, I was thinking more of György Ligetti's Nouvelle Aventure, where you have these direct expressions of uh, parts of people singing and the pronunciation. I don't imagine you'd want Luciano Pavarotti to be singing Bone Needles.
Well, and that I think speaks to what what I'm really in terms of the quality that I'm looking for when I think about the most impactful collaborations. I think it's curiosity and a willingness to explore and experiment, right? So that the range there's nothing rigid about a beautiful collaboration for me. And if curiosity can be the driver um, for on all the sides of the people in the room, right? That we can make a space together in collaboration for us to be curious about the music and about one another, about how we're connecting and what we're connecting with. That to me is really the spark. So I guess it is about finding spark, and I love that Roger talked about a like-mindedness, right? It doesn't it's not so much experiential. It's not where we're coming from, but it is about what the end is, and that end to make something that's bigger than any one person in the room.
Let's have a listen to our next track. This is Evening Out.
Perhaps it's what the old ones heard when they gazed at the moon, before they felt time breathing down their necks, when they were young and hot-blooded, heart, muscle, and throbbing with lust at the sight of other hot young things. Gathered around the piano in a drawing room, moonlight streaming in through the west windows, their skin shining like silver in the cool night air. Group of long-armed men stand around to hold up your thoughts while
Lovely. And I believe there we did hear of Robert Frankenberry singing with a lovely voice. This brings us to the philosophical part of our conversation. According to the liner notes, quote, for Roger Zahab, music is a teleportation device. Immersed in his music's flow, performers and listeners are connected across distances of time and space, newly sensitized to the porousness of historical, cultural, and personal memory, end quote. And for Gilda Lyons' music, quote, comes from a deeply grounded pre and pan historic place, a realm that exists outside of the past as recorded, understood, and taught, end quote. First to Gilda and then Roger. What is the secret ingredient to music that teleports people to a pan historic place? Are words necessary? If so, what kind of words?
I actually think that many of us, both as listeners and as creators, turn to music when words aren't enough. So I know for me, the music that nourishes and heals is the music that connects. So as a listener, it connects with me, and in terms of amplifying something that I need to feel and that I'm in process about. And as a performer or as a composer, it's music that connects me to the people I'm singing for or the people I'm writing for. So I think for me, the spark, it is really the secret ingredient, as you said. It's connecting through sound.
And is that how do you get people to understand that? Does that spark? Do they automatically perceive that, or is it something learned? Is it an acquired spark, or does it present itself to just everybody?
Oh, I think really for me, it's, and I guess I say for me because I don't believe that there's one answer. And I, um, I actually never have an agenda, right? I don't, I think when there is that moment of somebody being deeply moved, it's because of something honest, something that was shared authentically. And so what I can tell you is that the secret for me is to always do everything I can to get out of the way, because there is a driver for me with every piece. There's a reason, like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? And so if I can try to get out of the way and have it never be about me, even if it's passing through me, that's that that to me is where the connection happens.
Roger?
And carrying on that thought, the connection and the work in music is happening always in the moment. Even when you're listening to a work from the past that may be treasured by many listeners in the room, there's a conflict with their past experiences. It's not a conflict, but there is that layer of past experiences of that work, what they feel about it, what the cultural understanding of that work is. And it is superseded by the experience right now, right here in the moment. And that necessarily is a function of the performer's way with the work and how the people are even listening, receiving it in the moment. An easier way of talking about the same thing is to describe what it is when we listen to a poem or a script, a play in the theater, whether it is time honored and treasured or whether it's a brand new work. The words are transformed, are transmuted by the actor's persona. And suddenly the words have many meanings happening concurrently, and they are drawing us to that person on the stage and the work that they're enacting, even more so with music. And there is the curious thing of being the living composer. You are subject to response directly from your listeners, whereas the dead don't hear us. Right? They don't, it's not their concern, but it is the concern of the performer. But when you're a living composer, performer, audience, collection, we are all participating equally in it. And I always surprised by the way time travel can happen for each person in a unique way, tied together by that lived experience.
Let's have a listen to our final track. This is Hermosa Nicaragua Nicaraguita.
Conocida por lagos y volcanes. Na na nigra na na nigra na 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 na. Donde late el corazón de nuestra. Donde late el corazón de nuestra. Donde late el corazón de nuestra naturaleza.
And are there any questions? Would anyone like to jump into this very deep conversation? Okay. So then, final question to me, first to Roger and then to Gilda. What do you wish all of us who listen to this album, would you like us to be, obviously, to take part in this magic, in this exchange of energy and coming together?
I am struck by this entire album that there are so many different entries into our worlds. And I hope that each listener will find one secret door that once they open will lead them into a completely unexpected and warm and inviting place.
Gilda?
I love the question because it absolutely, I never have any kind of agenda for my listeners, and I never, I want people to have whatever experience they need to have in the moment. And sometimes feeling things deeply is too much. Sometimes that's not a thing that someone can be in the room with. But I do always think of it as an offering. And I am realizing in thinking about your question, Simeon, that Roger and Rob are both two of the people on this earth that I have collaborated with and been close friends with for the longest in my life. And I just love that I get to share. I got to be part of making something with them in this way and to share from an authentic place of connection with people. So I wish for everyone the blessing of getting to have a moment thinking about the persons that you love most and making something with them.
Let's have a look at how we can get the album. It's on albanyrecords.com. All you have to do is when you go to albanyrecords.com, then you can just type in Magic and Desire, and I think it should come up right away. There it is. And you can buy the album there. You can stream it. You can listen to it, get all the information about it. Again, that's albanyrecords.com. And if you'd like to stay in touch with Gilda, that's easy enough. It's gildalyons.com. And people can stay in touch with you here, Gilda, and reach out to you under contact if they have any questions.
Absolutely.
So that's gildalyons.com. And for Roger, it's easy enough. It's rogerzahab.net. And Roger, people can reach out to you if they have any questions.
That's right.
So
I'll respond quickly.
So don't hesitate. If you have any questions, want to reach out to Roger or to Gilda. Again, that's at gildalyons.com and rogerzahab.net. Thank you so very much to Gilda Lyons and to Roger Zahab.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Simeon. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Simeon.
So before we go, I would like to bring your attention to Vienna Live's website, which is simeonmoro.com, and bring your attention to our sponsorship campaign that's going on right now. For $5 a month, you will receive one Vienna Live Celebrates 5 Years mug. For $10 a month, you will receive one Vienna Live Celebrates 5 Years mug and one Vienna Live City tote bag. If you go under one-time payment custom, there is no minimum sponsorship. All sponsorships are ensure that Vienna Live can continue to operate as a free classical music public service. And coming up next week on Wednesday, we have Andrea Goretti and Sivan Arbel. Bazrima was born from an unexpected encounter in Israel of jazz vocalist Sivan Arbel and pianist Andrea Goretti, who quickly formed an organic musical connection. The word Bazrima, meaning flow in Hebrew, reflects the natural exchange between the two musicians as they move fluidly between composition and improvisation. Their debut album songs hold space for the tensions and tenderness of contemporary life, acknowledging its shadows while leaning toward unity and wholeness. The music becomes a gentle offering, a prayer of surrender to the self, to each other, and to the world around us. That's next Wednesday. Andrea Goretti and Sivan Arbel, Bazrima. And as always, all information about upcoming shows is available at simeonmoro.com. Once again, thank you so very much to Gilda Lyons and to Roger Zahab. Thank you to Vienna Live's corporate and individual sponsors. Your ongoing support allows Vienna Live to continue to operate as a free public music service. Thanks very much to my cousin Mike, a marketer from Layer App. If you're an architect or an engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. And thanks, of course, most of all to you, our participants, who make it all worthwhile. From Hudson Valley, New York, Washington, D.C., and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.